Hey y'all, it's your girl Barbie J here. Welcome to my channel, June BLC. What's up, everybody? It's your girl Barbie J here with the recap and review of Tyler Perry's comedy drama Sisters, Season 8, Episode 15, Tectonic Shifts. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's the movement of the Earth's plates, like a earthquake or something, or volcanic eruption type thing. Anywho, before we get started, please do not forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. And just a quick note, we will be going YouTube Live on Thursday, January 23rd at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, this episode starts off with Gary telling Agent Watt that Fatima Wilson held a knife to his throat. And Agent Watt said, "Are you telling me that she threatened your life with a knife?" And Gary said, "Yes." So then Agent Watts shows Gary a picture of Zach and asks, was he with Fatima Wilson when she put the knife to his throat? And Gary says, no, that Andy was with him. And he said, Andy Barnes, are you sure? And then Gary's like, I don't know. I don't know. He was doing this whole shaking thing and everything, like trying to understand what's happening. And he also told Agent Watt that Zach hit him. And then he asked, why are these people after me? What did I do to them? And he's like acting like he's going crazy or something. So because he's making all this noise while looking at those photos, Hudson runs into the room talking about he could hear the noise down the hall, and he asks Agent Watts to leave and get out of the room because he was obviously agitating Gary. So Agent Watts said, fine. He said, thank you, Gary. You've been very helpful. Meanwhile, Gary's still screaming, why are they laughing at me? Why is this happening to me? Trying to act like he cray-cray, but we know he ain't cray-cray. Next, we have Andy asking Robin did he stab Gary. And Robin is offended that she would think he would commit a crime and let her take the fall for it. And I was like, Robin, I'm right there with you with it. She's acting like a real airhead right now. She's not acting like a professional attorney and thinking like one at all as well. So he said to her, I'd like to know where these suspicions are coming from. And then he said, Fatima. Fatima's your friend. She doesn't trust me. And Andy tells him, I just want you to know that I am perfectly capable of thinking for myself. And he said, then prove it. Look me in the eye and prove it. And she couldn't do it. She couldn't do it and asked him to leave. I said, see, because she knows she just jumped on Andy and Zach's bandwagon and ran with it. And before he left, he made a comment to Andy saying he will make sure that she trusts him again or something like that. Because I could see how that could be disappointing to somebody that you've done nothing but help them and then they don't trust you. Kind of like she's doing to him what Penelope and Jordan did to her. Bam. I said it. That's right. So now we see Sabrina and Rich. They're at the hospital with the doctor who's telling Rich that he has the sickle cell trait. Again, the sickle cell trait. And just like an insecure person, he says, so what you saying, doc? I'm damaged goods? And the doctor says no. And then she starts to explain to them what sickle cell is. And Sabrina tells Rich, everything's going to be all right, babe, as she's rubbing his face and he pulls away from her, saying, you're not the one with the deadly blood disease. And again, the doctor has to tell him, his dumb behind, you have the trait. You don't have sickle cell. Idiot, if you had sickle cell, you would know. Dang, how uninformed is he about this sickle cell disease, which is something that is common in the black community. So now Sabrina's concerned about all the money she spent with the IVF and the hormone shots. And she said, does it just all go down the drain? And Sabrina was suggesting that they could go to another clinic, but the doctor said all of the clinics basically have the same type of rules. And so now at this point, Rich is crying and stuff. And the doctor told Sabrina that it doesn't all go down the drain because she still has another sperm sample. And now we all know what that is. It's the monies. And you could tell on Rich's face he is not happy with this news. And the doctor says she's sorry to Rich, knowing that this is not news he want to hear. But she says she wanted Sabrina to make sure she knows all of her options. So now when they get back to Sabrina's apartment, Rich is apologizing to her for his behavior at the hospital, admitting that he made it all about him when her mind must be racing right now, And then he suggests that they start a family the old fashioned way. But Sabrina's like, wait, wait, wait. And Rich wants to know why she's hesitating. And she's like, excuse you, hold up. But when did I ever say I wanted a baby tomorrow? And she said I want to freeze my embryos for when I'm ready to be a mother. And of course, Rich thinks that she's lying, and he feels that it's because of him. She doesn't want to risk having a sick kid with him when she can have a healthy one with Damani. I said, Lord Jesus, somebody help me. Somebody help me with this fool. He is so immature and self-centered. It's all about him. You had to be talked into wanting to have a kid with her by your boys. You said you didn't want children for years. Now it's been like 2 weeks and now you just gun-ho about it? Come on, Rich, grow up, man. And the truth still remains. The only reason he want to have that kid with her now because he didn't want her to have it with Damani. He saw how Damani was eyeballing her and he got jealous. Bam, I said it again. I said it. So now Sabrina walks into work to catch Paige and Maurice bickering again. And she asks, what's the issue now? And Paige is like, why bother saying anything when you're only going to side with him? And Maurice is like, that's right, you finally got it. And she looked at him like, shut up, and said, Maurice, please. So Sabrina sends Paige on a break, and she gives Maurice a dirty look and walks away from him. So he follows her to her office, and she lets him know that the look she gave him is her reprimanding an employee who always comes back late from his lunch break. And he's like, oh, you know about that. I'm sitting there going, that's what you do? That's all you do for an employee who's always coming back late? Really, Sabrina? You need to put your foot in Maurice's behind is what you need to start doing. So she says to him, please do not abuse our friendship. Do you realize what I had to go through with corporate to get you back here? So he said, okay, it won't happen again. And she said, then now get back to work. And he doesn't move. And she's like, Maurice. And he's like, what's wrong with you? He said, we've been friends for way too long, and I know that something is up. So Sabrina tells him a little bit about what's going on, saying that they received some devastating news about Rich's sperm and that it's not viable. And so Maurice asks, well, what's wrong with it? And she goes, it's not her place to tell any more of his business. So I'm sitting there going, since when you don't want to tell other people's business? You always telling everybody's business, Sabrina. But anywho, then Maurice asks, well, what happened with all the money and time you spent doing that? So she tells him that she has another option. And then he's like, oh, you going to use Bobby Brown's sperm? Talk about Damani. I don't know why you call him Bobby Brown. But Sabrina basically was like, I don't know. So now we have Danny. She's writing a letter to herself in her book, talking about her visit from her homie Zach and her life with Tony, whom she says she loves. And when she finishes writing, she decides to go to work. And while she's at work, we see her sitting at the airport bar, but she says she's drinking water when Tony walks over wondering why she's there because he put in PTO time for her, which if you recall, I think she said she didn't have any time left. So I don't know if Tony gave her the hookup of some sort. But anyway, Tony asks her why she's at work, and she tells him how Zach helped her, and then she thanked Tony for being patient with her while she was going through her panic attack and post-traumatic stress stuff. And Tony responds, it's worth going through this to be with you, Daniela King. And I said, oh, that's so sweet. So she kisses him on the cheek. And then they both get a email message alert or something on their phones, which says HR wants to see them. And Danny said, this can't be good. And I'm sitting there going, it sure can't. But we all knew this was going to come at some point because of the inappropriate way that Tony was showing those displays of affection by Danny's desk while she's working. So now we have Karen. She gets a visit from Fatima, and she opens the door saying, what the hell you doing here? And I was like, wow, that's a little funky. And Fatima says, we need to talk. So Karen says, I guess it's my turn to ask why you showing up unannounced. And Fatima said, I thought I'd let you know how it feels. So Karen asked Fatima, could she get her anything? And Fatima said, you shouldn't be waiting on me in your condition. She's like, You mean our condition? You pregnant too? She said, yeah, but you're further along and you have 2 babies. And she said, I get it, you're right. So she asks Fatima, did she tell Andy? And she said, no, she would like to wait until she gets further along to tell anybody. So Karen said, your secret's safe with me. But we all know Karen really doesn't want anybody to know about that. She's still feeling some kind of way and she knows it. But I gotta say, it was nice to see that Fatima smiled and kind of chuckled when Karen said that line about Tupac and Biggie having a little disagreement. I said, oh, snap. I'm glad she did laugh because I was wondering. I say, is Karen really going to be this funky the whole time? Come on. So it seems the two ladies talked and aired out some of the differences they were having and the things that were going on. And Fatima was saying how things have been better between them since the baby shower. And Karen swears that she doesn't want to beef with Fatima. And they are both glad that they can finally see each other. Because she's saying how Karen has a business and 2 businesses and have 2 babies on the way. And Karen saying how Fatima's holding down Zach, Andy, and now little Michael and doing all this while she's in law school. So I thought this was a good scene. It was really interesting. I liked how both ladies made it really look. I mean, they were acting their butts off, like how uncomfortable it was, how they kept pausing and the breaks and the unsurety, and how Fatima said, let's stop trying to fake the funk with this cordial stuff, and all of that stuff. They were clearing the air. It was really interesting, you know what I mean? And so then Fatima asks Karen for her word that she will call first before popping up at their house. And Karen says, okay. And Fatima's like, I asked you this before, but she said, no, I mean it this time. And she admits that she didn't give a damn about how Fatima felt before. And she's like, I'm just being honest. So then I was like, wow. So then promised that she will text, call, email, and maybe even send carrier pigeon before coming. And if she does come by, all she will call her is Fatima, meaning she ain't gonna call her out of her name because all she ever called her was a biatch each time. Anywho, Fatima said, I appreciate that. And then Fatima promised to do the same, stating that especially after the baby news sent you to the hospital last night. Didn't I tell you that Fatima knew what caused it? Didn't I tell you that as women we could peep all of that stuff? We see what's going down. We know the dealio, all of those old time sayings. We already know. So Karen said, I can imagine what that must have looked like. And Fatima was straight up and said, it looked like you finding out that I'm carrying Zach's child sent you into a false labor. I said, oops, no, she didn't. And Karen admits that it did, but not for the reasons that she's thinking, because she's over Zach and she means it this time. And Fatima said, I appreciate you saying that. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, we'll see. I ain't believing that right now. Because even her mama, Mama Lisa, said it's always about Zach, right? So anyway, Fatima promises to make all of Zach's kids a priority, not just her little one. And then they realize their children are going to be siblings. So Karen says she's going to love Fatima's little one the same too, even if Fatima don't like it. And Fatima says, I like it because these black babies can't get enough love from the world. And I said, she right about that. And Karen agreed. Then Fatima promises to give Karen's 2 little ones much love from Auntie Fatima. And then Karen asks, well, doesn't Michael call you Mama Fatima? And she explains that's because Heather's out of the picture. So Karen says real low, I would be cool with my kids calling you Mama Fatima. And Fatima's like, excuse me? What was that? Sorry, I couldn't hear what you said. Could you say that a little louder? And she said, Mama Fatima. And she's like, wow, Karen, wow. She said, should we and Karen said, well, hug? And so they get up and they about to hug, but Karen's belly's in the way. And they were like, okay, we'll save it for another time. Like, we ain't gonna go too far and get crazy now. But I got to tell you, I really enjoyed those scenes between them. I thought that was a good talk that they had, clearing the air and all. So now we have Andy's home eating a gallon of ice cream, feeling sorry for herself when Miss Marie shows up, wanting to know how or why Andy allowed Robin Autry to out her from the firm. And Andy tells her it's only temporary. And she said temporary could turn into permanent. So Miss Marie was going on, and annoying her. And she wasn't happy with some of Andy's responses. And she got to the point where she grabbed the gallon of ice cream from Andy and she's like, hey! And she was like, what are you doing? Or something like that. And Miss Marie threw it on the floor. I got a kick out of it. She was tired of seeing Andy pitying herself. But of course, Miss Marie said what I thought she would say, basically telling Andy that she didn't bring the Marie Willis Group finances to Benson Jones and Leland for Robin Autry to handle her legal affairs. She said, I brought them here because I was led to believe that a woman, namely you, would be leading that firm. But I'll be honest with y'all, I really couldn't get into this scene with Andy and Miss Marie because I just think that something was missing. I mean, how can they have this scene without them discussing the fact that Andy is a suspect in a criminal case and a stabbing, attempted murder case? How can she be there running the firm when she's a suspect? They should have mentioned that. They're doing all this talking about everything else, but not about the topic that caused Andy to be ousted from Benson, Jones, and Leland. So I really have no more to say about that scene. And so the episode ends with Fatima. She gets home early from work. And Zach is like, why? Hayden's clocking your time. So she said that she texted Hayden and told him that she'd be working from home because she's having woman problems. So of course he let her go. So they talk about his visit to Danny. And then she talks about her visit to Karen. And she discussed in detail how things went, you know what I mean? And she let Zach know that Karen says she's over him now. And he's like, yeah, right. And she looks at him and he's like, no, I didn't mean it like that. I didn't mean it like that. She said, oh, please, you and your ego, you can't believe that somebody don't want you no more. So anyway, Fatima decides that she wants to go over to the suspect board and start working on it some more because she has some information about Hayden that she had gotten. And at that point, somebody's knocking on the door. No. I mean, they like, really? And they're like, who is that? So she opens the door and Agent Watts like walks right into the house instead of like waiting to be invited in. And so Zach runs over there and says, whoa, whoa. And the guy's like, get off of me or something like that. I want to talk to you guys. I got some questions. But Zach had a right to stop him. You don't just walk in somebody's house. You ask, may I come in? Or they'll say, you can come in now. So he was all the way wrong. So like I said in another video, their suspect board is right there as he comes in. He can ask all the questions he wants because the stuff that Gary said ain't making no sense. It's not making sense. He's putting together scenes here and there and here, and that doesn't mean any of them stabbed him. So y'all let me know down in the comment section what y'all thought about this episode. I thought it was pretty good, and I want to hear your 2 cents about it. So please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share, and I will see you all in the next video. It's your girl, Barbie J, saying peace.